everybody? Welcome to C.R.E.A.M episode 21. It's prime time. One of my favorite numbers in the world, number 21, home of the legendary Deion Sanders. Prime time. Welcome to episode 21 of the C.R.E.A.M podcast.
Well, we got to do a big congrats on 1,000. That's awesome. We hit that milestone, bro. That's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody, thank you again for subscribing, making 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I really do appreciate that. That's a lot of love. I thank you guys just for clicking on it. Make sure you share it so we can get to 10,000, if not 1 million subscribers on the YouTube channel. So once again, subscribe to Jason Matthews on YouTube.
Jason, public or private school? What do you think?
I don't know, man. I'm very torn. So what I see is, I think public makes you, a private school, it seems like he's very polished and very organized and structured. So I think that's one of the really big perks of a private school is that structure of everything happening. While you don't see it as much, as you don't see that as much in public schools. It depends on the public school, but private, they have everything down. Like I talked to parents, and I talked to a parent who's he's going to send his son to a private school, but he teaches at a high school out here, a good high school out here. I thought about at first, and he said the difference is you got the buffer. So at a private school, so your kids can just fall apart off the rails. While at a public school, if they're not focused, they can just fall off.
They could get a little bit lost in the shuffle in the public school, huh?
Especially, it depends on the size of the school. If it's a bigger school, a smaller school. But my friends who all go to public, we're all successful. So I don't think it does not determine if you're going to be successful or not if you go to public or private. I think it depends on who you are as an individual. And I always feel like education still starts at home, about you implementing the values that you think is important to your child. And you shouldn't depend on schools to do that. What you hope to do is find a school that shares the same values as you do. So,
and in public school, yes, it is a step back with, like you said, organization or even education levels or personal attention, but the social skills kids learn, having to fit in and having to deal with all sorts of people and navigate tricky situations, good or bad, that could help them in life, right?
Big time. So I always tell people, the people I see the most successful, like all my friends, usually went to like Berkeley High. It's a really big school, but it's very diverse for as racially, socially, economically wise who goes there. And it seemed like my friends who went there could work with anybody in the world be cool and just could be in any room and feel comfortable in it. And I guess if you went to a public school, it is only Black or only white or only Asian, you won't be able to do that. But going to a school that's diverse, economically and socially wise, just allows you just to be in so many different rooms. And I love that they're able to do that compared to I'm not sure if you went to a uppity private private school, let's say that costs 50-60 grand a year, which is crazy, right? And you're only being with very well-to-do of the 1% of the 1% families, and you might have one or two kids, you might get a scholarship, but who you're working with is different. Now, are you going to, based off you going to that private school and possibly in your design to go to the Stanfords and your Ivy League schools, are you going to be in the circle of those other people as well, or you're an elitist at that point, so you never hang out with them or you can't relate? So I don't know, man. It's kind of crazy when you think about it.
Yeah. And then again, we get back to, you could go to Ivy League schools, but unless and the data backs this up, unless you're in the sciences, or becoming a doctor or something, it doesn't really help you. The networking is what helps you, right?
Right. And that's the whole point. I think even going to the private school or even going to Ivy League school is about those relationships and networks. I have a friend, Walter Brocky, give him a shout out, where he started a nonprofit to talk to student athletes in college and universities, and he's been around to Alabama, Miami, not just in football, but all the other schooling, about how to take advantage of the university by building those relationships, because you are part of the sports department. People love to see you. How do you build those relationships with people and those networks with outside the school for your life after sports? And which is important, right? You just don't go in the football field and that's it. You need to use that sports as who what those relationships could build for you, which I think is huge.
Yeah, it's interesting. Definitely. Like, I don't have kids, but something I would think about. And it's, as a parent, your instinct is probably protect them and give them the best life possible. But you could only do that to a degree. You can't really give them a life. You have to prepare them for life. And
Right.
That's the whole debate, right? And that's where it's like, if you could, maybe the happy medium is a very good public school or a very accessible, diverse private school, if that exists,
Right. And with my son, like the school is going to be like 35, 40 minutes away. So you might have to take BART. So I think with that, then he has to grow up, be mature, learn how to take BART and so on and so forth. So that's great at that point, I guess, because he learning at a young age when he's going to be a freshman. By the time he's going to college, he's used to, hopping on, taking public transportation on his own, how to be responsible, what to look out for to get some street smarts, because
you get that BART education, huh?
You got BART education, how to not mess with the crackheads on the BART. Make sure you don't sit in the very back row where you might see needles and stuff, how to stand up, how to be on your P's and Q's, right? While other kids might not have that. And I think there's evangelist 80s kids where we had bubblegum cigarettes, we built tree houses, my friends stole their dad's videotape of adult entertainment. So and you have rumbles with your friends and neighboring and your neighbors neighborhoods, different neighborhoods where you have rivalries, and but eventually you guys got along, but it just made you a tougher, better person. I think overall, in my opinion, I think American society right now is just overall just soft right now, and we don't have any toughness about us. And that's one thing I think when you overly protect people, we're very overly sensitive and kind of too soft as a society today, in my opinion. And so you need to build that toughness.
Jason Matthews, the Cream Podcast 21. Now we're going to talk about something reluctantly, because it's not our favorite topic, but we always end up talking about it, which is inflation. So drop some wisdom on us today about inflation.
Yeah, it seems like inflation is definitely has not officially cooled down yet. The numbers not what they expected it to be. And since that, we have seen the stock market act very, very have been retreating, we should say, and act very scary. I know I've seen it for myself, where I see health insurance has drastically went up from a year ago. I see it at the grocery store, with chicken, eggs, everything you get at the grocery store, cereal has drastically went up. So we got to get this inflation underneath control.
I know for last month, grocery prices went up 13.5% year over year, which is the highest increase since March of 79. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's insane. Luckily, some things are easing, like oil prices and gas prices are coming down, which, transportation costs, but it's definitely something. So what do you think with the Fed's reaction with raising rates, and now that affects the stock market? How do you think that is as a policy to combat inflation?
I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's some pain in the short term, but if you look at history, you don't want inflation to get out of control. And the reason being is if prices go too out of control and inflation moves too fast and too rapid, like you see in Zimbabwe or Venezuela or other countries, then two things happen. One is people get very upset. And I mean, very, very upset, where you start having anarchy in the streets because people can no longer afford to buy the basic goods and services. So you have to control and tame inflation, because you don't want anarchy in the streets and the government to lose control of the people, where now you have anarchy, violence, and crime. So that's the major thing they have to be concerned about at that point. Even though it's very, very politically unpopular to raise rates. Historically, Democrat and Republican presidents both hate when they raise interest rates, because it does slow down the economy. And the big thing we're seeing right now that's slowing down is the number, not the prices of homes right now, but the number of homes sold in the Bay Area. Naturally, how many home prices are sold, because the interest looks like it's affecting the most is the 30-year mortgages, where we're seeing it on it more than any other place right now.
Yeah, definitely. To that point, U.S. mortgages, the average 30-year fix just surpassed 6%, which I think is, what's the difference between a 5.75 and a 6? It's not huge, but it's a psychological barrier for consumers. So I've always been one on this podcast to say, no, the housing market's cool. It's a correction we needed. It was due for a correction before COVID, and COVID just, kept the party going, kept the lights on, and kept it in prices increasing past where it should have. And we were due for a correction. But now once we hit that 6%, there's a lot of people that are just like, and they don't need to. Still actually great time to buy because you're seeing way less competition and prices are starting to come way down. But the housing market is still okay just because the amount of equity that homeowners have, and also the conservative loans that people are in. So you don't have all these adjustable rate mortgages that are going to blow up in their face.
Right. And I was talking to a friend this morning, this commercial real estate, mostly Steve Peterson. And he was talking about what he's seeing out there. The area where you're seeing the biggest drops at, in his view, is at the homes that are $1 million plus. Because right now you have usually those type of homes have less people who qualify for FHA, so they have to do traditional financing and the jumbo financing with 20% down. And with the drop of the stock market, especially here in the Bay Area, you have less people in tech who are able to buy, because a lot of tech been taking the biggest hit during this whole stock market drop this year. And we see it in the NASDAQ. So you have less qualified buyers who are looking at buying $1 million plus. So he's saying what you're seeing is, or what he thinks happening is, you're going to just see not this huge drop, but he feels like you're going to see a lot more creative financing. There's going to be more seller financing happening, lease to own options, but just creative financing without the banks more and more during this rising rates that we're seeing.
Yeah, and the 6% interest rate is nothing to panic about at all, because, and you made great points, but you think about it like this. I mean, you could do a 15-year loan, which, yes, your payment's higher, but you're cutting your interest, the true cost of your loan, way down, so you're actually saving yourself a ton of money over the length of the loan, and your interest rate will still be probably, low fives right now, I'm guessing. You could do a 5-year adjustable or something like that. There's also seller buy downs that a lot of sellers are trying to incentivize buyers now and saying, hey, we'll give a credit to $10,000 to your rate buy down or something like that. But the truth is, most people, especially in California, refinance every 3 to 4 years and sell every 7 to 9 years, if not faster, right? So the loan you get now, you can't think that you're going to be in there 30 years and pay it off. Buy the house now when there's less competition, when there's not these huge bidding wars and a line of buyers that you're competing against. Get a good, favorable price. That's probably less than it would be 6 months ago or a year ago. Even if your rate's a little bit higher, well, you could, like we talked about a couple ways you could do creative financing, or make one extra payment a year, and then you just, your interest rate's irrelevant because you just surpassed their interest schedule. Or you just refinance in, 2-3 years when rates are back down in the 5s or high 4s. Probably even next year, they'll probably be back down in the high 4s. So I still don't think it's reason for catastrophe, but people like to, like we talked about, sensationalize everything is a winner or a loser these days, nothing in between, right?
Right. And you made a great point. I heard earlier you said about buying back points. And I remember one of my mentors, Walter Brown, he mentioned that one idea is that instead of asking for cash for the credit, ask that credit to be used to buy down the loan rate. So you're absolutely right about that.
So Jason, now we turn to the world of sports, but unfortunately it's not on the court or the field. There's some news this week of Suns owner Robert Sarver is in hot water for, basically, to summarize, being a complete scumbag and creating a toxic work environment over decades that was very misogynistic, racially biased, saying things he shouldn't to people he shouldn't, disrespecting everyone, women, minorities, his employees that are lower down on the ladder than he is. And so the NBA and Adam Silver, the commissioner, came out with a 1-year ban from his ownership position and a $10 million fine. So do you think that's fair, or do you think there should have been more?
First of all, $10 million to a billionaire is peanuts. And every NBA franchise is probably worth over $1 billion at this point with TV contracts, sponsorships, so on and so forth.
Easily. Yeah.
So we have seen worse suspensions for it, monetary wise, to players than for owners. So does it really affect him for being suspended for a year for $10 million? No. Is it really a true suspension? No, he's a billionaire. But do I know? But one thing I will say is I'm ignorant towards everything that's happened with him because I have not followed up in detail on this case to say if he was right or wrong. I just know if you're going to suspend somebody, suspend it where it actually hurts, because right now it's not a penalty that's really going to make him think twice about his actions when you only do it for 1 year and $10 million. And what is that 1 year? He can't go to his own facility that he owns. He can't go into the thing. I have to look more about what is that suspension. He can't divide up the profits that he's making from the Suns for that year. What does that 1 year ban means is the question.
Yeah, it's from the ownership position. I think he would still profit, I'm guessing, but you're definitely right. Where $10 million is irrelevant. He could just the headlines it generates. He could probably, write a book or do a few media appearances or whatever. And, that money doesn't matter. It's the 1 year. And that just seems like such a slap on the wrist for these documented indiscretions that it's insulting almost. And, players like Chris Paul, who played for the Suns or plays for the Suns, LeBron James have spoken out, but there hasn't been a whole lot of backlash, but I think it's coming. So think about what we have to compare it to. If an actor, if someone in public office, unless they're Donald Trump, says something or does something offensive to women, or, says something that's racially charged, they're basically a CEO of a company. They're basically forced to resign, right?
Right.
Donald Sterling, the Clippers owner, another scumbag in charge, was caught on tape saying some things, and he was banned for life. So that's a big difference, banned for life versus 1 year.
Yeah, definitely. It is. One thing I want the players to really focus on right now is not on him, which is totally wrong, but I wish they focus more of their energy and efforts right now on the crisis in Jackson, Mississippi with the water crisis. And the reason being is you have a huge community right now in a first world country that actually don't have water, which is crazy to me that we could give billions of dollars to Ukraine right now, and the people in Jackson, Mississippi don't have water, and I don't think it's not getting enough attention. I think LeBron and the players should be speaking up about this huge water crisis for the people in Mississippi, especially if it's in the poor state of the country. You just have Brett Favre, who just did a huge scam in Mississippi and got caught with the former governor with his welfare scam, fraud. Right. Yeah, that's one thing I wish the players did. This what the NBA player owner did is wrong, but you're affecting the quality of life of people when we don't have the basic necessity of water in this country, which it irks me when I'm thinking about it.
You have pockets of third world conditions within the richest country in the world, which is absolutely inexcusable. And, then this is like the Flint, Michigan water crisis. And it became popular for people to jump on board with that. But yeah, I think there's a lot of people across the board that should be speaking out about this. So I'm very glad you said something about it.
This month, the month of September, is Life Insurance Awareness Month. Life Insurance Awareness Month talks about the importance of every family, household having a proper amount of life insurance and in the need and the importance of life insurance. So I just want to give a shout out to the Life Insurance Awareness Month. Hope everybody has a proper amount of life insurance. Have some life insurance, because I'm tired of seeing these GoFundMes. We all are. Let's make sure that our family, our friends, and our community is protected. Everybody, thank you again for listening to C.R.E.A.M podcast episode number 21. If you thought that was great, make sure you click the like button and share it. As now, remember, we're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers.